Is Icon still good in 2025 at Blackpool Pleasure Beach Resort? Well, here on Your Experience Guide in our new ride review series, we're going to talk all about that today. I'm Scott, this is Craig, this is Stephen. Now, before I start asking you two what you think of Icon, let's run through some statistics from the roller coaster database. Icon opened at Blackpool Pleasure Beach in May 2018. It was manufactured by Mack Rides. It has a length of 3,750 foot. The tallest element is 88.5 foot with a drop of 82 foot. It has a top speed of 52.8 miles per hour, one inversion, some people say two. Ride duration is around 2 minutes 41 seconds with the highest G-forces at 4.3. Icon has 3 trains with 4 carriages per train. It cost around £16 million. So, Stephen, is Icon still good in 2025?
I actually think it's grown on me over the years, you know.
Yeah.
Because I remember when I first went on it, and I was like, it didn't quite, it wasn't quite there. But I've had, like, last year, towards the end of last year, it was running exceptional. Like, I was loving it. There was airtime, they had all the elements I wanted. And I come off the ride, and I even said, I think it'd be in a vlog somewhere. Wow, that was amazing. But it isn't always amazing. So I don't understand why. But, like, it was really good. So it's one of those coasters where it seems to sometimes change on whether it's running all right or not. You know, it seems to vary a little bit, but I actually quite like Icon. I think it's a great roller coaster for Pleasure Beach, where a lot of the other roller coasters there are actually quite dated. There's nothing wrong with them being dated. They've got a lot of wooden roller coasters. They've got and a lot of older steel roller coasters as well. And I think it was quite refreshing to get a modern steel coaster at Blackpool Pleasure Beach that you can re-ride and enjoy. So I was all for Icon coming into the park. I was hoping for something a little bit more taller, but, like, I think it fits the bill quite well for what they're going for. It's a bit of a weird situation for the coaster itself, though, where it looks a little bit too scary to be a family coaster, but it's not quite thrilling enough to be an extreme thrill coaster. So it kind of sits in this weird, like, it's like trying to be a family coaster but isn't. The height restrictions are quite low on it. So it is a bit of a weird placing for it, but I'm all for it. I think it's a great addition to Pleasure Beach.
So, Craig, moving on from that, what would you say about Icon? Is it still good in 2025? Do you like Icon?
I like Icon. I've always liked Icon. I think it's one of the first coasters my daughter Darcy got to see grow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? From start. I think she even touched a bit of the track, I think, when it was on the car park one day, I think. And she was just over there and watching it through her eyes. She loved it. I personally love the ride. I think now, I don't know, I think Stephen probably hit the nail on the head. It falls into that gap where, is it as exciting for me as it was? Probably not. I think it misses something at the end of the ride. I think it could do with a barrel roll or a corkscrew, if those are the right... a loop-de-loop, you know, in Craig toy terminology. And I'm told that he's got 2 inversions by Andy Igate.
Yeah, he just like to tell us it's got 2, but
yeah.
RCDB says 1, but Andy works at the park, so who do we go with here?
I'll go with Andy.
You go with Andy. I don't mind either way.
But do you know what I do love about the accompanying soundtrack for it? I think it's fabulous. And when it launches, I love all that, and I love, you know, the way it goes round where the old meets the brand new. It's just brilliant to see the cacophony of all the track everywhere, all around there. I think it's a brilliant adage to the park. I'd like to see a different element on the back end. That's all.
Yeah.
But I still like it. Still like it this day. It's a must-go-to ride to me. Like, you know what I mean. It's more comfortable than some of the other rides there. Shall we say it that way? Shall we? Yeah. But I do love Icon.
I think for me, there's a bit of nostalgia attached to Icon for me, in the fact that for us it was the first sort of roller coaster construction process that we followed on this channel. Yeah. We'd seen other stuff being built. We saw Infusion getting built at Pleasure Beach. It wasn't quite as exciting. We knew what it was going to be. Whereas Icon, there was that little bit of mystery involved. We'd seen the concepts, we'd seen the rumours, we'd heard the rumours. And it was just great to see it go from screen to actually being constructed, and it was something that I literally followed from when it started, when they were doing the groundwork and putting markings like exit shop, track, and all the little like paintings and blue pegs and everything on the floor, and it was like, this is really exciting, they're actually doing something. And just to watch the whole process was incredible, watching it get constructed, watching it testing for the first time. And then it came to you could come and ride it, but you've got to buy a boarding pass. And we had an event, a Club Pleasure Beach event at Pleasure Beach, and we'd got a big one ERT scheduled for when the Icon boarding passes were due to go on. And it was like the most ultimate dilemma as the event organizer, but someone that had watched Icon being constructed. And it was like, right, I'm gonna have to speak to Pleasure Beach here and organize it. And basically, in the end, we actually sorted out that everyone in the group got to ride Icon first. So we were like the first public riders ever on Icon on the boarding passes on I think it was the 18th of May. And for me, that was an incredible moment and an incredible sort of, like, we've come from being literally a fan forum to this, and it was a good day. And then the whole, like, it was a shame about the opening day because it did nothing but rain.
Yes, I do remember that, actually. Yeah.
The crazy thing is, on the boarding pass days, which was a week before it officially opened, beautiful sunshine. On the Wednesday for the media event, beautiful sunshine. Yeah. Friday opening day. Welcome to Blackpool, everyone. It chucked it down all day.
But it wouldn't be Blackpool without that little bit of rain.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think the ride itself, it's nice and modern, smooth. Obviously, the second launch is quite punchy, straight into the Immelman. I really like that, especially when you do Enzo. There's going to be a full review on Enzo coming to the channel soon, and just talking about what it is and everything. So I'll save that for then. But I just generally like the second part of Icon. But also, like you say, it does go on for a while doing kind of the same thing, just sort of going back on itself. So I think it's difficult to kind of judge exactly what the best parts, because I like the top hat after the first sort of launch. The first launch is kind of like whatever, it's nothing special, but when you go in the top hat, that's great. I like the whizzing round past Steeplechase, underneath Big Dipper, underneath Steeplechase by Big Blue. Then you come back through the inversion where you think you're going to, if you've got your hands up, you feel like you're going to touch the other bit of the track, which I think is quite an interesting interaction.
Very.
And then if your pockets are open, then you're going to lose your phone and your car keys. So I think that's quite cool. Then obviously you got the drop down through the tunnel into the launch. And I do like all of that. It is a very enjoyable coaster. I'm not going to say it goes on for too long, because I think that a longer coaster is better than a shorter coaster unless it's really rough, which Icon isn't. But then it's just like you say, I just wish it just did something a little bit different in that second bit.
That second part.
Even if there was just something, even if the ride layout stayed the same, even if there was just some sort of effect or something that when you go around, just something to just add something different to it. But another unique thing that we've done with when we were Pleasure Beach Experiences, and I think you might
Yes,
remember this, is when we went into Icon Garden and actually stood under the ride.
That was unbelievable.
And
fantastic.
Obviously the ride wasn't running, we were too close to it, but that was incredible to actually stand right next to the launch and just be like, wow, that's where it does the second
And you got
launch
to see some of the names on the bits of wood, didn't you, with from the Mack family and the Thompson family, which was lovely to see as well.
I'll be honest, I think the biggest thing they could have improved on is, I'm sorry if anyone gets offended by this, but I think the marketing was a little bit off with the actual getting it out there, because
I agree.
It was not very clear on what product they were selling, because I was in the cinema and the advert for Icon came on, and if I didn't know what it was, I wouldn't have known what they were advertising. Yeah. And they probably spent quite a lot of money on getting that in the cinema, because it's quite a big movie they'd gone to see. So I think that's probably one of the things, like just getting it out there. I think almost like they'd probably even be able to relaunch it potentially in a way, because I feel like it didn't get the same footfall as like the big one, and because it doesn't really sell itself like the big one, because you can't really see it from outside the park. Ride layout though, I think that like you say, towards the end it does start to peter out a little bit. I think maybe had some different. They seem to like a lot of like snappy transitions. You're doing a lot of a lot of this kind of motion, just doing a lot of swinging around. Where I think maybe going all the way over and then maybe doing like a full flip over, then going the other direction would be a little bit more interesting and increase that thrill factor. But it depends on what audience they're wanting. Like, it gets a queue, and I think people overall enjoy it. So I think it is a good fit for Pleasure Beach, and they are limited on what space they have there. Like, I appreciate they managed to get it in and through the big one. but like you're kind of limited to what more you can do in that area. So I think they kind of did the best they could with what they have.
Talking of space, though, there, I mean, you've got to take your hats off to Mac to fit all that in and around it. Look the tube map. Do you know what I mean? Fitting all that all around there in the tunnel, I just think it's fabulous.
Yeah.
Bit of art, actually, for want of a better word. You know what I mean? So to get all that in where they did and through the big one as well, like, I think it's cracking.
I think both Pleasure Beach and Mac deserve credit for what they actually did in terms of Icon scale, because they could have quite easily looked at it and gone, right, we've not got loads of space, just put a small coaster in.
Yeah.
You know, they could have put something on the scale of like a Mac Big Dipper in that sort of area by Big Dipper where the bridge was, and they could have just gone, there you go, you got Mac Big Dipper, there you go. But instead they went, right, we're going to look what we can do with all of the available space, and we're not going to remove any other coasters, we're not going to remove any flat rides, we're just going to move some little bits here and there, and we're going to make
Fabulous
it work.
job.
And the
Fabulous
way that
job.
they actually fit it into the park is incredible. And I think it was an interesting journey to Icon, because it was first rumoured that Pleasure Beach were going to get a Mac coaster when Blue Fire opened at Europa Park. It is a really good coaster for Pleasure Beach, and the height limit's 130 centimetres. My little boy can go on it soon. I can't wait for that, but he will be like, no, I'm not doing it.
Fabulous days, those.
But it will be a good day when he does it.
But another thing, the restaurant, Coasters Eat Coasters.
Yeah.
I mean, the great John Wardley once said, some rides are there to be seen as well and looked at. And if you go into that restaurant and at the back there on a lovely sunny day with a beer and watch that coaster around, there's no better thing to see. You see the big one going up, down in the background, you know, the Big Dipper coming past you on the right-hand side. That's what I say about Blackpool Pleasure Beach. It's got a bit of everything for somebody, and I think it's a fabulous park.
It's got character as well. Like when you sat there on that coaster's balcony, and you've got like modern version of Coaster's Icon.
Exactly.
Then you've got Big Dipper like making its 1930s noises.
Yes.
And a little bit further along, you've got Infusion doing its
The noise,
90s groans. And then you've got the big one noises, it's Mine Train noises. I think it's sitting there is great. I
There's
love
so
sitting
much
there.
depth to that park. I love it.
Yeah.
You've got the whistle of the Pleasure Beach Express.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
There's,
oh
I think
God,
there's so much stuff you don't think about, but it's all going on.
It's all there. You can see, if you go on that platform there, you can see it all, and you can see Icon in all its beauty, and you can see Icon Garden there as well.
Yeah.
It's fabulous.
Absolutely. And I think from an operational point of view, to get it spot on. If it's, I mean, I know Enzo does slow it down, and again, I will talk more about that in the Enzo dedicated video. But I feel like, generally speaking, they just shift the queue. Like you were saying before, it has a queue. It has a queue, but it has a moving queue, which helps. I do want to go back to the point of marketing, though. And I think that even though I agree with what you're saying, I do need to point this out. They did win awards for the way that they sort of announced Icon with the ride reveal name and everything. So I want to make sure that gets mentioned, because even though I agree with the advert that you were on about, they did, earlier in the process of Icon, the park did win awards for their marketing of this is what it's going to be called and stuff like that. So credit where it's due. Yeah. However, I agree with that video where it was such and such coming out of the ground, steel meets whatever, and it was just like, what's this meant to be? And the daft thing is, a couple of months later, they did another video where they've got a couple of rider cams with people who worked on the park, on the train, and showed POVs and stuff, and it was edited to the the soundtrack of Icon. That was a fantastic video. And if that had been the marketed video for it in the cinema, that would have done amazingly. Yeah. But I appreciate probably when you saw the advert in the cinema, the ride probably wasn't open, which makes it difficult, because you can't really be like, oh, it's a big one, but it's going to be different to that.
I feel like in that situation, I would have gone to Europa and filmed it on Blue Fire.
Yeah, or maybe Helix, because the train design's exactly the same. Yeah. But it's a tough one.
I think what I remember as well, I think just after it opened in the June, obviously it's Father's Day, they all give out certificates for fathers as well, like for something, which was a lovely touch from Pleasure Beach. I mean, they didn't need to do that. It was just a nice thing for them to do.
Yeah, I always feel sorry for them in the respect of, like, obviously, it opened in the same year as Wicker Man, which obviously Alton Towers are a marketing machine with new coasters. Yeah. There's no point trying to debate with Towers when it comes to marketing a new coaster. Alton Towers, it's got its fan base, and a lot of Alton Towers fans will always sort of look at the park as they can't do anything wrong. So when they're promoting a new ride, they're going to be all over it. Whereas I think Icon got a little bit lost in that. Obviously, Wicker Man opened 2 months before Icon as well. And then you come to 2020 and Icon has to close because COVID.
Yeah.
And it was a difficult one. And I think, luckily, when Pleasure Beach did reopen in 2020, obviously, luckily for Blackpool and everywhere else in the country, people couldn't go anywhere, so they were having to go and experience things at Pleasure Beach. And I don't think I've seen Pleasure Beach as busy since or before COVID for a long time. In that era where people were stuck in the country, it was like Pleasure Beach was thriving. It was great to see. And I think people did love Icon, and it didn't half-shift a queue of 3 trains back then.
Yeah.
Obviously, it now has the seat belts, it has Enzo, so that has affected the throughputs, but I still think it moves the queue really well. And I think, all in all, we can sit here and say we wish they'd built this type of coaster or changed that, but at the end of the day, I think, as a product, I think it's worked really well, and I am very much looking forward to getting back on it throughout this year and just enjoying it again.
But as you alluded to earlier, it's one of those a big coming of age coaster, like you said. You're looking forward to your son to go on it. I mean, it's one of those. It's like it's a cracking ride for that.
Yeah.
As well.
So now this is the important administration question. This time, in this video, we're going to start with Craig. What would you rate Icon out of 10, with 1 being bad and 10 being good?
7.
I'm going to say 6.
6?
6.
Behave.
Positive pants, Stephen. Positive pants.
He's left them downstairs. I'm going to go with a 7. You hope not. Yeah, I'm going to go with a 7. I actually feel that might be a little bit harsh, but I am going to go with a 7. And I'm going to be controversial at the end of this video and say I don't think it's the best coaster at Blackpool Pleasure Beach, but I thoroughly enjoy it every time I go on it.
You're looking at me.
I'm looking at you for encouragement.
He's looking for backup because he knows that I'd like the big one. So
yeah,
and I do. To be fair, I think the big one is better than Icon.
No,
For me,
totally disagree.
For me, because you've got to bear in mind, me and Scott have like a bit of a more sentimental value with the big one.
The big one's iconic.
So,
I totally agree.
But like, I'm still leaving. I'm still a solid 6.
It's a solid 6 out of 10. And on that note, we'll come to an end for now. So let us know what you think about Icon in the comments section below. And if you would like to see us review more roller coasters in the UK and further afield, please let us know. And please hit the like button. It's the little thumbs up below. Please subscribe. Many thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.